This is the part 1 of beginner inkle weaving with Paula.n.mcclellan.
Hi.
Paula.
My nickname is Sam. I'll answer to either one. And we're going to start with this thing, a really beginning. I just bought string class. So it may be.
Sorry to interrupt you, Paula. I'm just going to mute everybody. So you're going to need to unmute yourself just because we're getting a bit of background noise. So Paula, if you can unmute yourself, I've muted everybody else now.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So I may go over stuff you already know, but it may be stuff that you don't know yet. I want to start with string. I love string. And you can use all different kinds of string. I suggested you start with cotton because it's easier to work with than wool or the acrylic yarn, because those are going to felt or fray and they stick to each other and it gets frustrating in the beginning. But you can do anything from, I have this adorable tatting thread. I have skinny tatting thread. I bought the shiny stuff online. I have thicker cotton. I have crochet cotton, and I've used all different kinds of them. So it's just basically whatever you want to use the product for when you're all done. There are several things you can use it for. You talked about pickups. This is a belt favor that was made for me, and somebody did pickups to make the little flamey part. This is another belt favor that somebody made for me, and then they sewed the flame part in. I have
a bit slower, Paula, so we can see them. Oh,
stuff made from the thick cotton. I'm sorry, what?
You could just hold them a bit slower.
Am I going too fast?
You're just showing them a little fast, that's all.
Okay. Oh, look at that one. So, and I have a skinny piece, and I made this with the shiny thread that I showed you earlier. And inherently, Inkle looms that we talk about were used to make bands to tie things like garters or to hold up your pants, stuff like that. So I use these little ones as drawstrings. And this is just a little bag I made, and I wove the little band to make a drawstring. So that just gives you some kind of ideas of things you can use. I'm going to attempt to share a file, so don't go away. Oh, look at that.
Oh, hang on.
Yay! So this is a picture of a reliquary bag where I used a piece of inkle weaving as a decor. And then for people who are in the SCA, I used inkle weaving to decorate the top and the straps of my apron. So any of those are applications. You can come up with a million things to do with them. Anybody have questions so far? Perfect. The way I understand questions work is you ask the questions in the chat part, and I'm pointing to the chat part of my computer. I know that helps you a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are so few of us that they can probably just unmute themselves and ask.
Perfect. So when I make kettles, I like to use a thicker string, and this is just a cotton yarn that I like to use. The color doesn't matter, but I like the thicker ones because I think they hold better. And I like using the cotton because once again, then it doesn't felt or fray into what you're using for your warp. So I'm going to go over and show you some looms. Hang on a minute.
Yeah, no, there's no option to message all in this test chat. So you either have to unmute yourself or you ask me the question and I'll ask Paula. It's a security thing.
Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Beautiful. So what I have to show you first are some different looms. This is a floor loom. And you can see it's fairly good sized. You would sit at it. And it's got a lot of pegs. So it's going to make a longer piece than a smaller loom. But you don't have to use all the pegs on your loom. You can make them as short or as long as you would like to on that loom. I have another loom. And what I like, oh, hi, Kitty. What I like about this guy is he has this extra piece right here. I'm trying to show you and not make you car sick. So when I warp my loom, I'm going to take this off. But when I'm done warping my loom, I'm going to put this back on. And it helps even out the tension on my pegs. Now I have a smaller one that I've had for a very long time. And that's this guy. And I have literally pulled him to bits. He's got a crack here. I've glued the pegs in. So that's one thing to think about on an Inkle loom. And that's one of the reasons I like my guy with the part that you slip in, because then it helps share that tension that's on the pegs. What I want to talk about next is how to make a heddle. Now on this particular loom, my heddles are going to hang out right here. So when I go to tie it, I'm going to tie my heddles from this peg to this peg. So with that inklet, does that make more sense now? The little one that you have?
Yes, it does.
Perfect.
Lots more sense. Thank you.
So I'm going to not stab myself with my scissors. And I'm going to get my heavier cotton. And making a heddle is incredibly simple. You make a giant loop. So I'm going to loop it from where my heddles are going to go to my top one there. Sure I am. And I'm going to make a knot. One of the other things that I like about the thicker thread is your knot stays much better than the thinner stranded threads, because then it comes apart.
Okay, I have a quick question for you, Paula.
Sure.
Is being left-handed or right-handed relevant? Because apparently Agnes's loom is a left-handed loom.
What that means is which way your pegs are going to point and which side you're going to weave from. So yes, it does make a difference, but I don't think it's an unsurmountable difference. It would just be something you would need to get used to. So this is a right-handed loom because I'm going to weave on the right-hand side. But if I were a lefty, I'm still going to be able to warp my loom, and I'm just going to look at weaving the other way. Did that answer your question?
I assume so.
Beautiful. So you're going to make one heddle for every pair of warp threads. So if you got a chance to look at the handout, the warp threads are the ones that are going to go the long way around. And in a little bit, we're going to warp a loom. And the way I remember that is long boards warp, right? When they get wet. So warp is going to be my long part. The weft is the part I'm going to use to weave back and forth. And the way I remember that is it goes from left to right. I know that's terrible. So I'm going to make one heddle for each pair of warp threads. Probably you want to start out with, say, 20 heddles. But once you've warped it, if you decide you need to make more heddles, you certainly can. It's not like you can only do heddles at the very beginning and never make them again. Stay. So Simba's going to come and help me. So I started warping this guy last night. And one of the things you want to do periodically is look at the side of your loom, and you see how all my threads are going in the same way? Because that way you're going to catch a mistake, especially at the very beginning when you're not really sure. Hi, Kitty. And this is new to you. When you put them in there, remember, these are my warp threads, and my shuttle's going to go back and forth. This guy right here, this space right here where my hand is, can you see it?
Yeah.
That's my shed. And that's where my shuttle's going to go. And I'm going to make it go back and forth. And that's what's going to make my weaving. When you make the heddles are used to hold one of the warp threads steady. So they're going to be in a fixed position and they can't move. Well, let me rephrase that. They shouldn't move. And then the ones that don't have a heddle, they're the ones that are going to move and go up and down. And it's that up and down that's going to make my pattern. So when I started this guy, I'm going to use 3 colors. And I like using the thread on the edge. That's going to be the thread that I'm going to put on my shuttle. And when I'm done warping this loom, then we're going to go ahead and wrap the shuttle and we'll start weaving. So I don't know if you can see, but I started with white, and then I went to blue, and then I went to white and blue. And if you can see, can you see well enough? Let me go closer. So if you can see right here, when I move this, see how my blue came up here? But when I push it down, now my white's up there. So maybe moving that's going to give me blue stripes and white stripes. So for example, when I made this guy, I put it so that I had white and red instead of white and blue, and that's what gave me my pattern. Everybody okay so far? This is really awkward. I'm used to getting feedback.
You can unmute yourself and ask questions. It's fine. We don't have that many in, so.
Would it help if you had someone to talk to?
Just somebody to go, no, I'm okay.
So far, you sound great.
You're doing fantastic.
Excuse me. I just was curious, is that a continuous warp?
It is. I'm so glad you asked that question. That's what lets it move along the loom so that I can continue weaving. If I don't have it in a continuous loop, then I have to stop when I run up against the edge of my warp.
When you create a shed, if you hold it in that position, I could see it better.
Yes, right here's my shed. So right now it's down, and then I'm going to lift it, and here's my shed. And then here's so these guys are going to move up and down, and my heddles are going to hold these guys in a steady position. They shouldn't move. Then when I'm done, I'm going to loosen the tension, and I can use that. When I loosen the tension, I can advance my weaving. So what I've done was I've done my blue and white, and now I'm going to do green in the middle because I want to talk about how you're going to change colors. So here's my blue and here's my white. And I made a bunch of petals for this loom last night. The one thing that is a challenge is when you don't have the loom warped, how to not lose your petals. And so what I have done is I put them in a Ziploc bag, and you know those old claw clips that you wore in like the 70s on your hair? I used them to clip it onto a peg. But you can also keep them in a bag. The other thing that I do, and you'll see on this guy right here, it has my name. So if I lend it to somebody or I'm at an event, I know that it's mine, and how long I can weave. How big of a throw or how long of a throw does it make? So now I'm going to put on my green, and I wrap it here just to keep it tight. But see how I took it off? Because I don't want anything wrapped around any of these. So that would stop my weaving. Give me a minute. Okay. So
I do have a question for you.
sure.
Why are you not using the fixed peg as your lead peg and instead using the bar that moves, which changes your angles?
So that I can change my tension.
Okay, I'm going to turn on my video here for a second, so maybe it'll make more sense. So I have the same, I don't know if you can see this, but I have the same, I've got my tension peg here and my fixed peg here.
I'm going to make you big
This-
so we can see.
okay.
you.
Yes.
And this still controls my tension just as well, but this angle never changes now.
See, I
It
like
just
this
changes
guy
how
because
the strings wrap around.
I like to be able to change my tension. For me, it helps me advance my weaving.
Yes, this right now, it's very hard to move. I drop this off a 1/4 inch and it moves much easier.
Oh, I see.
It works the exact same way. It's just where it goes in the warping. It's so that you don't lose length of weave. So
But
as
I
you
guess-
lose
I
as
have
you have
other-
to release tension, you don't have a shorter weave area.
But I guess we all have our own techniques.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have to think that's going to be like a personal preference. When I go to warp my loom, I've made my heddles. And I have my heddles ready. So now if you want to get your string and warp this with me, that would be a good thing. If you're first starting off, you're going to wrap the string around either your fixed or your tension bar. I like using my tension bar so that it holds it tight so that you kind of have something to pull against. And I'm going to put my warp threads on in groups of 2. So here's my first one. It's going to go up. And I just randomly chose how long I want it to be. And my second one is going to go across. See how I skipped this top bar? I call that one my down.
You may have to do that sideways onto the camera, maybe.
So I did one up, and then I did one where I bypassed the up, and I call that one my down, or the high road and the low road. I'm going to wrap it here, and then I'm going to put my heddle on the high road or on the up one. I'm going to take my heddle, I'm going to fold it over. It goes to the left of my down, and I tuck it on the heddle peg. If you're following along with me, how's it going? My person who was warping her inklet, do you need a minute?
I'm puzzled about something. I'm going to go backwards from what you've told us. On here, I can see where I can get a shed by pushing this down.
Okay,
But
I'm gonna make it big so everybody can see you. Hang on.
Can you see it?
There we go.
Very good,
By
yes.
pushing that down, I can get a shed. But I don't know how to get the other shed. If I pull it up, there's no shed.
Yeah, it's, I've never seen one like that. So you're kind of an enigma to me. You're new.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. And I think part of it is that your heddles are so big.
Oh,
See, my heddles pull
All right, hang on.
my warp
well, I made
half
one.
of those eggs. Whereas you see how my heddles hold my warp here so that I
Yes.
have more room. Does that make sense? Whereas your heddles are way up here.
Oh,
So maybe
And
your
so you're going to
need to be a
have less
little
room for
shorter.
a shed.
so you're saying the heddles need to be longer?
I think your heddles need to be shorter.
Shorter. All right, I did one here that's shorter. It's a different color.
Hang on. We'll swap you around again.
Let's see if I can make this tight enough so you can see it. Darn it. There. Can't do it while I'm holding it.
It's okay.
Oh, I'm ending up tying knots.
It's okay. There's no rush. Doesn't help that probably because we're all watching you.
Right.
I don't know how I did this. Okay. I need to go around so that it stays there. So I had tied this one from here to here.
Yes.
That's what you suggested. It's rather floppy. Can you see how floppy it is?
But I think it's that floppy that you're talking about that's going to give you your shed. Because you have to have play in here.
So I just need to redo all of these.
Probably, and I hate to tell you that.
I know. I'll use a crochet hook.
That'll work.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
All right, thank you.
What I want to talk about now, give me a minute, I made a mistake.
It's nice to see that even the experts make mistakes.
Oh, heavens, yes.
Yeah.
What I want to talk about next is how I'm going to change colors. So I've done an up and a down in green, but now I want to go back to doing my blue and white alternating. So I'm going to do my up in white and my down in blue. So I'll come here, I'll give myself a bit of a tail. I'm going to cut my green and I'm going to set it to the side, not too far, but where you get into trouble sometimes is if you have them all on top of each other, they like to make their own little knots, and then you just end up with a mess. So now I'm going to use my tail. I'm going to make a matching tail in my white because I'm going to go up next. And I'm going to tie my green and white together, one lovely little knot.
Can you do the white one from the side? Because I think that shows up really clearly
You bet.
on the camera.
See how I tied the white and the green together?
Yeah, yeah.
And so now, let me get my green going here. Ah! Now I've really done it. Hang on a second, I've got a giant knot. Okay.
Always the way when 300 people are watching.
It's because everybody's watching, yeah.
Absolutely. So do you just use what I would call a granny knot, or is a specific knot you use to tie on?
I just use a granny knot, yeah. Once around and through.
Yeah.
So now I got rid of my ugly knot. There we go. Now I'm ready to put on my white thread. So there's my bit of a tail. I tie the white thread to the green. And now my white thread is going to go up. And remember, that's the one that's going to get the heddle. And because my blue thread's the one that's going to go down, I'm going to cut the white thread. And tie on the blue thread.
Go on then, Agnes. If you've got a question, just ask.
I'm curious, are you using cotton for everything there, the warp as well as the heddle, or just for the heddle?
No, I'm using cotton for everything because I like the cotton to begin with. It gives you a nice even weave. And especially
so using cotton for patchwork work? Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Especially in the beginning, the cotton fibers don't fray or felt like the wool or the acrylic is going to do. And when you go up and down here with your shed, sometimes the wool will felt and it makes it harder to weave. So there's my pair, my up thread and my down thread. Can you see them there?
Yeah.
And I'm going to put the heddle on my up thread. Just by looping it over the up thread, it goes between my two down threads. And there's one pair. So I have done 4 whites on this side. So if you want to make it symmetrical, you can do 4 white on this side or whatever. But remember, things don't have to be symmetrical. They can be whatever makes you happy. So I'm going to cut my blue thread. And now I'm going to go with my white thread. I'm going to make sure that I haven't crossed over anywhere. So see how all my threads are going the same way? They're all on the same pegs. Because otherwise I'm going to be unhappy later on. There's my white thread going up. And here's my blue thread. And it's going to go down. I'm going to stop there. Put my heddle on my up thread.
So you just looping your heddle over, is it one long loop?
It's one long loop. And I just bend it over the up thread. And then the 2 ends are going to hook on my heddle peg.
Oh, okay.
It goes between my 2 down threads and hooks on my heddle peg.
And if you notice, she put the knot at the bottom so that it won't get in the way of her weaving later on.
That's true. I do put my knots down at the bottom. Sometimes they'll work their way up and they get tangled in your weaving. And I put all my knots here at the beginning. So they're all more or less kind of in the same place. If you're following along with me, how are you doing?
I have a question.
Sure.
Putting the heddles on later is difficult in between. Wouldn't it be better if I just undo what I've done and start over again?
I would hate to say that to you, but yes.
I thought so.
It'll give you more even tension.
Yeah, I was trying to put it on and I thought, oh, this is crazy.
Yeah. Tie it in a knot, give it to the cat.
Or
Okay, here,
unwind it very, very
heddle
carefully.
watching you. Oh, I beg your pardon.
I
Little
just said,
leg there.
or unwind it very, very carefully and then rewarp it.
You could, yeah. But you're going to have a real different feel to the tension when you change the length of those heddles. And so you might be happier just starting afresh.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you meant throw away the heddles. Now that I've disrupted the class totally, I just wanted to say I did not come here to make Paula's life more difficult. I actually came here to thank Paula and to thank Nick for being our teacher and being our Zoom host. Fibrary could not happen if it weren't for our teachers and our Zoom hosts donating their time and their expertise. So thank you both very, very, very much. And now I'll go away and let you actually enjoy your class.
You are doing amazing, and I am grateful that you organized this mess. It forced me to technology. My children are so happy that I had to buy a laptop.
Well, it's got its benefits, doesn't it? I'm glad that I could be of help, and I'm just appreciate the teachers and everyone so very, very much. So you guys take care, and you just did another up. Did I distract you and screw you up? Because you just did another up thread instead of a down thread.
No,
Okay.
I did an up thread, and now I'm going to do a down thread.
Okay, I'm leaving now. Bye-bye, guys. Have fun.
So there's my up for this pair. Here's my down for this pair. I just really want you to think about them being in pairs, because when you work with them in pairs, I just think you end up with a better result in the long run. So there's my up and my down for this pair. I'm going to put my heddle on my up. And put it between the downs. So there's 3 whites. I'm going to do one more white up. I keep pointing myself at the computer.
So is there a huge difference between using like mercerized cotton versus like dishcloth cotton, or if you just used all the same kind of cotton?
I think if you use a mercerized cotton, it tends to have a smoother finish. And especially in the beginning, as a beginning weaver, you want that thread that has the smooth feel to it, because once again, then it's less likely to felt or fray.
Okay.
As you start moving these up and down, the friction of the threads against each other, if you use the acrylic or the wool, you run into that problem of felting and fraying. Did that answer your question?
How about using nylon?
You can use anything you want. I have some pretty nylon that's lovely, fluorescent colors that I can't wait to weave things with. That's the fun thing about it. You can weave with just about anything. I've had a friend take dog hair and spin it and ply it and turn it into yarn.
So how many of you are actually joining in, or are you all watching?
I'm watching for now. My loom has not arrived yet. It will come on Tuesday, so I'll rewatch this video. But I did have a question.
Sure.
Do you have a specific size of cotton thread that you prefer for starting off?
That is basically dependent upon what you want to do with your finished product.
Ah.
Now, I play with an historical recreation group in the SCA. So hang on a second, let me show you. See if I can do this and not drop the loom. So the thicker cotton makes this lovely thick trim. Can you see the trim there?
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I use the thicker cotton for that. And it's great if you're using it on a garment. This, however, would also be lovely for a belt.
Oh, yes.
Whereas my skinny thread, my tatting thread, obviously ends up being much thinner.
Oh, yes.
Unless you use 50 heddles. And then that you can use, I use it as a drawstring. I think I showed you my drawstring bag earlier.
Yes. Nice.
And see, this is nylon, the sparkly stuff. I bought sparkly stuff on Amazon. It's amazing what you can find on Amazon late at night.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
In answer to your question, I'm also working along. I'm making my 8th heddle right now, and I hope it's appropriate to be using number 10 crochet thread and using square knots, because that's what I'm doing.
If that makes you happy, the square knots are probably a good idea with the 10 crochet cotton, because the thinner fibers tend to come apart of the knots as you pull these up and down. Because you have to think about you're having friction and you're pulling against those petals.
Yeah, I was wondering whether I should dab you know, a little drop of glue on these to make the knots more secure.
You could, but then you're going to have to wait for that to dry, and you don't want to do it on your loom because the last thing you want to do is glue a heddle to your loom.
Good
That
point.
That would be sad.
Yes, that wouldn't be good.
So I've got my 4 up and I've got my 4 down, and now I'm going to do 2 blues to match this side. So I don't need to cut it. I'm going to do a blue up. Oh, I like that, it blew up. And I'll do a blue down. As you go along, you're going to want to scoot those threads in so they don't fall off your pegs. And I did 2 blues up, so I'm going to do another set of blue.
That's a good angle.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's nice and clear.
And see, I'm still going to push them in so they're not right at the edge of my pegs, because it's also very sad when they fall off your peg. So there's my 2 blue. Whoops. And because I'm going for
Hang on,
summery.
we got somebody wanting to show their loom. Hang on, I'm just going to make you big so we can see you.
What a good job you're doing.
Anybody else want to show?
Why? Because I'm going for symmetry. Let's say you get to this point and you've run out of heddles. You're going to just wrap this so it's taut, and you can still tie more heddles from here to here. So it's not like you can only make heddles at the very beginning. You can still tie more heddles later on. So there's my 1 white up.
Yeah, the white's nice and clear.
And 1 white down. I'm checking this side to make sure that all of my strings are going in the same place, that I don't suddenly have a string going to this peg, because then I won't be able to weave past that point. So it's going to go between my down threads. So there's 1 white pair. Here comes my second set of whites. There's my up. There's my down. Looking at the side to make sure all of my strings are on the same pegs. untie the heddles that managed to tie themselves together. Oh, for heaven's sakes.
I can see some very industrious work going on up here.
There we go. So it's going to go over my up thread, between my two down threads. Now I'm going to do one more set of whites. There's my up. And there's my down. Making sure all my strings are on the same peg. I don't have anybody on a rogue peg. And put my last heddle on. So now I've finished warping the loom. You can see all of my strings are all on the same pegs. I don't have anybody on a funny peg. Now I'm going to finish this and I'm going to tie it off onto one of the things down here, but I want to make sure that it's not wrapped around my tension bar. So I'm going to unwrap it. Make sure it's not. I'm going to cut myself, leave myself a nice tail. And then I'm just going to go to the next knot over here. See how I have this knot here? And I'm just going to tie it off there, making sure I have a continuous loop and it's not wrapped around the tension bar. So that really didn't take us very long. I warped half the loom in just a short period of time. There's a couple of tips to think about. Sometimes as you get to weaving, because there's nothing on this side to stop it, threads will tend to slide. You can put hair rubber bands here, the big thick ones, on the pegs, and that's going to hold things on your peg. Where you started over here and you wrapped it around to keep it tight. I'm going to unwrap it so that I have a continuous loop. I don't have anything wrapped around my tension bar. There we go. And then I'm going to tie this guy off as well. Ta-da!
Yay.
So you just want to make sure you have nothing wrapped around this tension bar because that'll keep you from advancing your weaving. One of the cool features of this particular loom, the one that has the side piece, is this particular carpenter, I don't know if you can see them, has buttons here. And so you can wrap things on that button instead of around your tension bar. You just have to remember to unwrap it and tie it so that you have a continuous loop.
Now, would anybody like Paula to have a look at how far you've got just to check that you're doing okay? Hang on, I'm just going to remove spotlight for a minute so I can see you all. If you want, Paul, and
Let
have
me
a closer look.
Back around.
Oh, here we go. Tina's showing hers. Let me make
Oh,
a-
let me see. Oh, how lovely, my dear.
that looks good to me. And
Do me a favor, though. See, I really think,
oh, hang on.
see where your right hand is? Move your, yep. Touch the front peg.
This
Touch
one?
the next peg over on the bottom.
This one?
I think the pedals need to go down there.
The book has it with on this one.
But see, now when you look at the way it's warped right now with the heddles there, you have no room for a shed.
Oh, there is. There's a.
Yeah, you have one down. Can you go up? No, 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 darling. You have to be able.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, there's your up shed. Okay. Because it's in that up and down where you're going to make your shed, and that's going to make your weaving.
Yeah, this is the little inklet, so it's tiny.
It is.
So where did you make your heddles?
Me?
Mhm.
Mine are right here.
These two.
Here, I did it here to here for the string and then put them here.
Oh. Well, why is it when I did it the way it said from here to here, they're too long?
Maybe you didn't tie them as tight.
Could be.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So the next part I want to talk about.
Oh, Paula, where are you?
Hang on a second. Technology is not my primary language. Ta-da!
There she is.
The next part I want to talk about, now that we've warped the loom, is we're going to load our shuttle. There are a million different shuttles out there. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. Some of them have a skinnier edge, and I don't know if you can see this edge is thinner than this edge. Do you see the difference?
Yes.
That thinner edge is the one you want towards you or towards where you're putting your weaving or you're pulling, because it's going to fit between your fibers better, and it gives you a nicer, finer edge to pull that shed in. So I'm going to take my string. Now I chose to use white string because my edges of my warping are white. And in the beginning, it makes your edges look nicer, in my opinion. So this guy has this funny little notch right there. And I can use him, and I'm going to tie my shuttle on here. Now, not everybody does that. And you will discover what makes you happy. Whoa, I don't know what I just did.
You're still here.
Oh, good. There we go. So see how I tied it on there? The only reason I tie is that way it stays as I start to wrap, and it stays as I get towards the end of the string that's still on my shuttle. Now, it's like opinions. Everybody has at least 3. So you can do whatever works for you or whatever makes you happy. Some people are very mathematical, and they like to figure out how many wraps. One wrap will go how many times across the weft. I'm not that good at that. So I'm just going to wrap this, and I'm probably going to wrap it about 30 or 40 times. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, We're going to stop at 20. Don't go away. I have to go get my scissors. You'll notice that wrapping it gives your shuttle some thickness. So that's another thing to consider when you're using different sizes of thread or string. And you don't always have to use the exact string that you use to warp your loom, but that's kind of after you've woven a piece or two. Questions about this part so far? Perfect. I'm going to show you how I'm going to start it. Don't go away. Come on, where are you, little mouse?
We're all learning together, all sorts of skills. Well done.
Hi.
Yeah, we're here.
Here I am. Back to my loom. Now, different books have different opinions. Some people use small sticks. These are just like fruit skewers, bamboo skewers. And they're going to push the shed down once and put one in, hold it there, pull the shed up. There we go. And put it in there. So some people will start that way, and you'll see what I've got here now is my very defined up and down. Remember, my blues were my down thread when I warped it. So as I move my shed, it's going to give me either blue or white right there. So now I'm going to put my shuttle through my shed. And there's a lot of different ways that people do the edge. You can weave this back in. You can tie it there, whatever floats your boat. I'm just going to leave it there. Now, the thing you want to think about for this guy is, what am I going to use this for? If I'm going to use it for a belt, then I want to leave some fringe, and I'm going to leave it hang, and I'm just going to tie it off. If I'm using it for fancy trim, then I'm going to weave this back in and weave the ends in. So either one is going to be okay. So I went up. Now I'm going to go down. See how I put my shuttle through my shed?
Yeah, nice.
I'm going to pull it a little snug. Now I'm going to grab this end with my left hand, and I'm going to guide that thread there so that my edge has some evenness to it. I'll go up. Come on, booger. Put my shuttle through. Pull kind of like with a rocking motion. And now I'm going to use my right hand and grab that edge and pull it tight. I'm going to go down, put my shuttle through my shed, bit of a rocking motion to pull it tight, and pull my weft thread through. I'm going to go up, do the same thing, rocking motion. You'll notice now right here, can you see I've got blue and white stripes started? That's because my blue threads went down, my white threads went up, and as I change my shed, it presents a different surface, and that gives me my weaving pattern.
And how tight do you pull it, Paula? Because I know when I first started, because I went from regular weaving to Inkle loom weaving. When I first started, because for regular weaving, you don't pull your edge. You spend a lot of time not pulling your edge. So I know with Inkle loom weaving, you have to pull it a lot tighter, don't you?
You want to pull it tighter so that you don't have any overhang on the edges here. You don't have any funny loops. But to be real honest, how tight you pull it is once again a preference thing. I had a friend who would weave wide like this and then beat the snot out of it and end up with a little like half-inch thing.
Okay.
So I want a nice big one. I'm going to pull it tight enough so that I don't have any funny loops or holes, but not so tight that it's going to change the width of my weaving. And let's see if I can get closer to the camera so you can see my edge. Can you see the edges there? I'm sorry, I don't mean to make you car sick.
There we
Can you
go.
see what the edges are?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's why I grab the edges I'm going through with my right or my left hand and help guide that edge so that I have that evenness. When you're done or you've started enough, you can take those little sticks out, skewer a hot dog and cook it. And then you're just going to keep going up and down. So, because I love stupid jokes, sometimes I'll only go up and to the right so that I'm upright. I know it's bad. But this way, it's really easy to figure out which way I need to go next. So I can go do something else, come back, and I don't have to remember, like in card weaving, you have to remember how you're going to turn the cards.
Oh, yeah.
This is like a no-brainer. And if you messed up, all you did was undo a pass. It's not like you just messed up this beautiful piece and now you have to figure out and you just undid one. So one of the things I want you to notice as you're moving the shed is how you have friction against the other threads. And that's why starting with cotton's usually a little bit easier because you're less likely to felt it or to have that fraying. When I get ready to move this, because I've woven as far as I can go, I'm going to loosen my tension bar. And I can just simply pull my entire weaving make my tension tighter again. And ta-da! I've got more area to weave again. Let's say that I run out of weft thread. There's several ways I can do it. I can take my end, I can tie a new piece on and weave that knot in, or I can cut it short and weave my new end in. To weave the new end in, I would pull it up and I'm going to pull my edge in, but I'm not going to leave it on the edge. I'm going to pull it kind of into the body of work. And then it's just going to be hidden in there. Any questions so far? Comments? Snide remarks or stupid jokes? I love stupid jokes.
I did have a question. When
Of
you
course.
showing how you would tie off and add more to the shuttle there, I saw that you left the loop out a little bit. So that, is that so that the knot then where you tied it on goes into the body of the...
You can do that, or you can, like if I tied my knot here, I can weave my knot into the body of work. Once again, it depends upon, like in thick cotton like this, you're never going to see that knot woven into that body of work.
Okay.
Your tatting thread, you're going to see the knot.
Okay. That makes sense. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I am in the middle of working.
Well done. We won't distract you. Oh.
I'm coming back.
Okay, I just got a comment I have to share with you. Because Lee, apparently their mic isn't working, but it's got a stupid joke. It says,
Oh, good.
it says, stupid joke, because my mic isn't working. Is this a good craft for someone with a warped sense of humor?
Oh, that's beautiful. So I tell stupid jokes at work. Right now I'm a nurse educator, so I get nurses in a brand new job. Some of them are brand new nurses. They're terrified. So if I tell stupid jokes, so one of them told me a stupid joke today. Are you ready? It's clean. They said that they ate Scrabble tiles at lunchtime. And I said, really? And they said, yeah. So my next trip to the bathroom could spell disaster. Yeah. I'm like, really?
Awful.
Oh dear.
That, ladies, I made my time.
You did?
I was so afraid I was going to run way over, but I didn't. So until between now and the next class, work on your weaving. The next class will be kind of a show and tell. We'll talk about how to finish the piece off, how to tie it off, and that sort of thing.
And your next class is on Sunday, the 14th of February.
It's Valentine's Day.
Between 1 and 3 in the afternoon, PST time.
Yes, which is like 8 hours. You're 8 hours difference, right, Nick?
Yeah, I'm not hosting that show. Your host is actually here.
I'm hosting. I will be hosting for you.
Oh, is that Gita?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. I'll be your host on Valentine's Day.
Oh, will you be my Valentine?
Yes, I will. And I look forward to seeing you guys there and seeing what kind of projects you guys have worked out. And my loom's coming in the mail in the next couple of days, so I can get it warped and have it ready to share what I've done.
It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to see what you guys do.
And I'm sure Paula will answer questions if you put them. Oh, I have another question. Hang on.
Yay.
Question on heddles. How essential is it that all the heddles be the exact same length?
It's very important.
There is a little elasticity in the thread.
A little elasticity. Once again, like on the little inklet, there's not a lot of leeway in your shed. When they move that shed up, it's a very little space. So if you have heddles that are going to stretch, you're going to lose that shed space. So you want the heddles to basically be the same length and the same fabric or the same material, the same string, because you really want that to be consistent as you move your shed up and down.
Does that answer your question, Lee? It's all right. Yeah, that's a perfect answer.
Perfect.
I'm sure that Paula will keep an eye on the Facebook event thread.
I will, and check out the handouts. The handouts have a picture of the Inkle loom. They have some history of the Inkle loom, being a bit of an educational person. There's even references. So yeah, check out the handouts. There's tons of books out there. The one I recommended or talked about was one by Helene Bress, but they're all wonderful.
Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending today. I hope you enjoyed.
Thank you so much. Oh, in Las Vegas, you'd have to do this to show that you don't have any cards up your sleeves. That's how the dealers say goodnight.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Nick, thank you so